Hello and welcome to Steel City Rings TikTok. This is Bob Quinn and Zach Franciscus coming at you on Sunday with an update on Steelers training camp. Couple news and notes before we get into a couple of topics. Patrick Queen did sit out again today. He's been out the last couple of days since Friday Night Lights. Just normal bumps and bruises, nothing major. But he is a veteran, even though he's younger. Steelers just putting some caution in there. Russell Wilson only threw one pass again today. So now we're over a week since the, supposed calf injury from a blocking sled. It sounds like this could really be lingering. I know the Steelers are probably with, Aaron Rodgers, who hurt his Achilles last season. They're probably trying to err on the side of caution here, but the further down the road it gets, the farther he falls behind. Not falling too far behind Kyle Allen, who didn't have the greatest day. Again, he hasn't really seized his opportunity like Justin Fields has. Fields every day looks more and more like the starter. Kyle Allen, he's leaving that door open for Russell Wilson to come back at his own pace and secure the backup job. Larry Ogunjobi, Keanu Benton sat out today. Not injury related. Montravius Adams and DeMarvin Leal are having a really strong camp by all reports. And I think they got an opportunity to run with the first team defense. And Mike Tomlin said that, he wanted to get a better look at Logan Lee and of course, Isaiah Loudermilk, who is entering his, final season with the Steelers unless he somehow performs. He probably will make the team. He's made the team from a depth perspective, but it's hard to call a 6th-round pick a bust, but he's certainly hasn't been as advertised when Kevin Colbert drafted up to get him in the late rounds. Another injury update: Roman Wilson is out of the walking boot, which is a great sign and great news for the Steelers and the wide receiver 2 battle. Although, since Roman Wilson hurt his ankle and has missed a little time, there's a guy who's been stepping up and who really seems to be embracing the challenge of trying to win the number 2 wide receiver job, and that's Van Jefferson. Zach's going to tell us a little more about Van Jefferson and how he's been trying to overachieve and stand out.
Oh yeah, overachieve is a good word because I'm not at the point where I feel an apology is necessary yet. But when Van Jefferson came in, I legitimately assumed this was another guy that was Allen Robinson. We didn't have Allen Robinson, so we needed another guy like him. That I didn't put anything more past that. In Madden, I always know third guy, need a veteran, stick him in there on the free agent wire. I He is really, really raising the bar every single day, not just for himself, but for Calvin Austin, because Calvin Austin's also in this. But Van Jefferson, he showed speed today. I knew Van Jefferson had consistency. I knew he was able to catch the ball and he brought the veteran. I did not know he was as fast as I saw him today. Yet again, if you go on Twitter, the amount of users on TikTok and on our YouTube thing, I credited all of the users out there getting the amazing videos because he was just so on point. And Van Jefferson specifically said that there's a reason for this. It's not just because he came into Pittsburgh and he's fine. He decided to do the AB route, and not just a little bit, like he wants to emulate what AB is doing. And we're going to hear this directly from the horse's mouth.
Nah, I just started. The equipment staff put me on to AB workout when he was here. And they say he caught about 300, so AB was a great, so I mean, why not try to follow his regimen,
Have you felt the difference in practice after doing this?
That what he's referring is that's 300 balls caught every single day after practice. And I was telling Bob in our prep, whenever Van Jefferson said early before camps, before practices, that he was going to do the 300 balls a day thing AB did, literally rolled my eyes. Like rolled my eyes, like, oh, okay, everyone's going to say he's doing it, following through. And it is the fruition. We are already seeing it. So we haven't played a preseason game. It's kind of like Calvin Austin and Van Jefferson have a chip on their shoulder that wasn't there before because they got really upset that everyone said the Steelers had no wide receivers outside of George Pickens. I think they were like, hey, we're wide receivers. We can do it too. So Van Jefferson, do not discount Van Jefferson because I did, and I'm already upset at myself for it.
Yeah, I mean, it's nice to see a guy get an opportunity and seize it. It still remains to be seen. Jury's out. I mean, he's not as old as Allen Robinson was, but he is 28. He's played a few years in the NFL. Injuries have really impacted him. He did have Matthew Stafford for a time as quarterback, but he really shined the most, honestly, with Baker Mayfield and the backup quarterbacks with the Rams when Stafford got hurt a couple of years ago. So who knows? I mean, the Steelers need somebody, and if we can, if he steps up, and especially in this void that Roman Wilson left with the injury, could be really interesting. And then speaking of interesting, I know Zach has endured some of my rants about Dan Moore Jr. Uh, for the first time today, Broderick Jones played left tackle with the ones, and Troy Fatanu played right tackle with the ones. So Bob is extremely happy today that we're finally playing the right tackles in the right place, and maybe we've seen the last of Dan Moore as a starter. Although I know Zach has some info on that maybe that's not the case.
Normally, I would let us all be happy and continue the positivity. And as much as I love that, and Jalen Warren did score what seemed to be a really easy, really natural touchdown, and specifically Broderick, Fatanu, and Sarumalu were all in on the block, so they're all gelling already. But when Mike Tomlin says he's specifically keeping certain players out so he can see what other players can do, you have to wonder if that also translates to Dan Moore. Does that mean that this is what he wants to see out of Broderick and Fatano? This is going to be our guy? Or I don't know what I have in these guys. So Dan Moore, we know what we have in you. Oh, I hope he didn't say that. It hurt my heart to say that out loud just now because Dan Moore does not have it. And Bob knows this. I know what Dan Moore does not have it. And I'm going to give Bob a little chance to vent here because Nick Farabaugh has been on point for all of this training camp. He has been present during the majority of it. Great takes, but he did tweet today that he expects Herbig and Moore to start at least against the Houston Texans. So, Bob, if he starts against the Texans, what do you think that means for the rest of it? And are you particularly happy with Nick's take?
No, I'm on record as I mean, do I want to see it in the preseason? No. Is it if I see it in September, if Dan Moore Jr. is the starting left tackle on opening day, as far as I'm concerned, clean house, get rid of Arthur Smith, all the goodwill gone immediately because that means you're letting a former Matt Canada assistant Pat Meyer dupe you into playing a substandard player. And I question whether you can evaluate talent if that's the case. Now, if you're going to throw him out there for the first preseason and kind of again, the conspiracy theory, maybe build them up so, Omar Khan knows where this is going. It's not going to be that he's on the team like Kevin Dotson wasn't going to be on the team. But hey, if I build him up enough, maybe I'll steal a draft pick or two out of it. Then, okay, I don't love it because I really feel that training camp is important for you to practice with the team and get reps. I mean, and especially with Fatano being a rookie, Broderick Jones essentially will be playing left tackle for the first time, although he played the one game against the Ravens last year. I'd rather see you go forward continuity wise. But if this is all to set up a trade and it doesn't show up in September, okay, maybe we'll have a little faith in Omar. We'll have a little faith that they'll be able to evaluate. And the fact that there's reports that Zach Frazier is really gaining on Herbig. I don't know if he can overtake him by the first game of the season. I understand why Herbig, but then again, I understand Herbig and Russell Wilson pairing initially while Zach Frazier comes up because a veteran quarterback may not necessarily love having a rookie center. 25-year-old Justin Fields, yeah, I think Zach Frazier has a better chance to overtake and start there. And then I hear our other tackle, who just happens to play tight end, Zach, looked really, really good again today and has looked great all through training camp.
Good. It's not we're talking about Darnell Washington. Let's just all be very specific. And whatever knee thing, whatever, whether it was a system or Canada, whatever caused him to not be utilized even close to where he should have been in 2023, that's out the window because he is front and center and he is not just winning blocks. He is dominating, and it is every single time. There is no one in Steelers camp that can take him. And we have really good defenders. So having all these young guys, having a Herbig who I expect to eventually not start at center and be that guy who can move all around. Think of the different combinations a competent guy like Arthur Smith can come up with, because I agree with you. I think Arthur Smith should have more say than Meyer if we want to win this season. If that's true, the combinations should be wonderful. I mean, the Chiefs go wild with their random things that they do on the field with offensive linemen and how they do this. We have the personnel to do that. So why not now? And specific, it's not just all the guys we're talking about. It's Mason McCormick too. Trey Carney of Steeler Nation tweeted that he would not be surprised at all if James Daniels is surpassed by Mason McCormick at some time. And not only that, he wouldn't feel at all uneasy about that happening, because it would kind of feel like the natural way it should. So we have all of these young guys. Not they were drafted to start, but now they seem to be earning their way towards it. And I'm hoping, and I know you're hoping too, that means Dan Moore's time as a starter and probably on the Steelers is coming to an end.
Yeah, the only other thing I'll add on Dan Moore is I really want to know why it is he hasn't gotten any reps on the right side when that was supposedly the plan, that he all of a sudden had figured it out and could play the right side again. Well, he can't. And I'm sorry, but if the Steelers are going to go along with letting a professional tackle dictate I'm only going to play the left side, trade him to Cleveland where he belongs. And
Yeah,
now
if it's at that point, he deserves the Browns.
yes. Now, Justin Fields, as we said earlier, it just continues to look phenomenal. But some interesting stuff came up after practice today about his connection with George Pickens and what it stems from.
Exactly. I didn't know this. We're gonna play the video first, and then we'll jump from that.
For a while. I mean, how much does that chemistry kind of come into play because you've worked together before, and just kind of known each other before, just now?
I mean, yeah. I mean, he literally moves the exact same as high school, so it's pretty easy to read him in and out of his breaks and stuff like that. So, you know, like kind of like he said, we've known each other for a long time now, to where it didn't really take that long for that connection to build back up and really get that going. So,
Where did that relationship start?
So to give some quick context, and that video was from Aaron Becker from Yard Barker. That's Justin Fields talking about George Pickens. And while they didn't play together in the same high school, I looked up, and a little while ago, Jacob Infante posted on Twitter that Justin Fields and George Pickens actually were teammates in a high school camp that Cam Newton run. So for a 7-on-7, it was George Pickens, Justin Fields on the same team, and the Windy City Gridiron, Toby Kunkel tweeted out whenever George Pickens was up to be drafted that he wanted the Bears to take him at number 39 specifically for that connection. So what we've been seeing from the Justin Fields to George Pickens over the middle, across the field, all over, it's not just random. It's for a reason. So these two picked up right where they left off.
So yeah, that's a nice deep connection. The other thing too is kind of interesting. I know Baku tweeted a photo observing Arthur Smith and George Pickens hugging, and you can see on the screen that Pickens is really enjoying playing for an offensive coordinator who not only can see his number but can see him, period, and is featuring him. He who shall not be named, for some reason, didn't know that 14 was on the roster most of the season the last 2 years.
And what I've been hearing is it's everything about the offense. It's kind of it's becoming more glaring what Matt Canada was lacking every single day that Arthur Smith is our offensive coordinator. Because all of us knew that he wasn't up to the job, but Arthur Smith includes people. He lets
Yes.
them know why he's doing things. Here is not just run this way. By the way, here's why you're doing this. And not only that, here's why you're doing this and how will it affect everyone else. And by the way, if you do that, it is so detailed and intricate and built and leveled that I'm legit. I don't know how to feel. I know I'm excited, but I haven't seen a competent Steelers offense in a while. I have seen offensive and talented players railing against incompetence to just try and succeed a little bit, and we haven't had a losing season with that. So come on, people. We're at least 2 wins. That has to be worth at least 2 wins.
Yeah, I personally, I'm on record. I think it'll be one more win, but that 11-6 will get us the AFC North. I'm convinced of it.
And I have no doubt whatsoever. Well, there's so much going on. We finally have an off day tomorrow. We all get to rest a little bit. All the players get to rest. We're not banged up, but we are bruised. There's some bruises with some people who need this day off. And Mike Tomlin was asked specifically if he would see Russell Wilson more when Tuesday started. All he said was, "See you next week." If there was a more Mike Tomlin answer, I don't think I could think of one. So I'm hoping that means that we will see him next week. But at this point, Bob, even if we don't, I'm feeling pretty confident with Justin Fields as QB1.
Yeah, so much for pole position.
So if you like what you saw today, make sure that you like and you subscribe and you put your notifications on and you comment. All of that legitimately matters. Anything you guys want to hear from us, let us know. We have new episodes of the Steel City Ring podcast every single Friday at 5 p.m. So for me and Bob, you guys have a wonderful day off tomorrow.
Talk to you soon.